because most of those miners had left, go into town to live. And they were drank, so they drove one cabin in the house next to me, and then mine too, that I bought in '73. I have about 2 acres and a couple of horses.
It's beautiful back here. I was telling my sister, I said, you know, you don't even know this place exists.
It's okay.
Until you come back here, and then you think, wow, this would be a really cool place to live.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, you're so close to everything.
Right, yes.
Really, when you're back here, you really know. It's like
I know, it is. But we have a great community. We have a community building on the roof, and so we have all kinds of events for our community.
No, I got the flavor of that when I was here last time. I said, boy, nobody's ever been mentioned it. That's why I asked people, what was people know about our community?
Well, you know what? We were running Connie's Museum just on Saturdays. In 1980. We had maybe every Saturday about 20 people. And then when we bought over here, since we opened up in 1998, we have had 20 to 30 people a day. And we opened up Friday and Saturday and Sunday. And now we open up Monday and Tuesday. We just close Wednesday and Thursday. But, I mean, we've had all kinds of events here where we've had 200-300 people, so.
I know, and I think the Nurses Association, that was nice too.
Yeah.
Did you get one of
So,
these?
you'll take,
He came by in a sailing ship, and he wrote a book about my tours through California and put his drawings in there. And this was the drawing of what Castellero, when he came with the Native Americans. And what he did is he took this red rock that had all the cinnabar in it, and he crushed it, and he used his shotgun. His shotgun had a big barrel in those days, and he crushed it and put it into the barrel of his shotgun and put the shotgun over the fire. And then as the fumes came off of the cinnabar, he put it into water. He put his shotgun and everything else into water, and the water absorbed the mercury part. Okay. The sulfur just went into the atmosphere out of his shotgun, and it was very tedious to do that. So he sent Larios, his buddy, and the Robleses to Monterey, and the sailing ships came in with the blubber, with these whale pots being used to cook the blubber of the whale to get the oil. And he brought back 6 of these pots. We have just one, and up and down the neighborhood we have this. It's more. We've been trying to gather them from people because we invented the bottom one. We just made a pot. So down at the bottom you had a pot with water in it and a little tube that would collect the vapors that came off of the rock. And you put the rock on top of a platform, and then you put this other pot on top and tied it down as tight as you could. Then you went and cut all the trees from here in Los Gatos and put them all over here and got this pot up to about 1,000 degrees. And it cooked off the cinnabar. And the cinnabar was attracted to the water, and so it hit the water and became mercury, droplets of mercury. And that's how, this is called a retort. And so this was a little tedious too, but still it was better than a shotgun. Yeah, and so this is what Castellero used. When Barron and Forbes came, they knew about furnaces. Now, a furnace, you put the rock in a tube and you put the fire directly on the rock. With this one, the fire was on the pot. So it would be like putting a hot dog in a pot on the stove is a retort.
Right.
But putting it on a skewer and sticking it right in the fire is like a furnace.
Right.
So here are the furnaces. This spot right here is the same drawing. He came back 2 years later, on the same guy, and drew this picture of that site. which is at the end of town down here where our outdoor museum
Yeah.
is. Yeah, and that's this site right here. A beginning of intermittent furnaces. This is where those guys could only work 1 day a month. Because these fumes coming out of here, they're breathing those. That's not good. That's not good at all. And then eventually, Forbes and his gang learned from Tepic and from Almaden, Spain, about continuous furnaces, that you didn't have to clean out every 24 hours. You could just continue to cook, because they cleaned itself out. So these are all continuous furnaces then. And they could work a little bit more because they were totally contained.
Okay, because I was going to ask if they were
Yeah.
continuous.
Yeah, continuous, and it was all contained within. So that's this furnace yard down at the end of town. In fact, our outdoor museum is right here, right behind. This building was all dismantled in 1963, and all the parts sold to Almaden to keep the mining going. They tore out a lot of stuff that they didn't use anymore because in 1939, E. Gordon Gould invented the rotary furnace, which we still have on top of the hill up here. That's up outside of Spanish Town. That building is still there.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, 1982, some developer came by to clean up the tailings and all. Tailings are the rock that didn't have, that the cinnabar was cooked out of. Anything that's been in a fire, rock that's been in a fire is called a tailing.
A tailing?
Tailing, T-A-I-L-I-N-G, the
Right.
tailing. And so whenever you cook, generally the potato ore was already picked out, so generally you just got a rock that had serpentine quartz and gray wacky and then maybe a vein of cinnabar. And so that's cinnabar. So this is what's up on the hill. We have a fence around it, and that smokestack that took the sulfur up, that took the sulfur into the atmosphere, that's laying on the ground up there. But in 1980, the building was pretty much destroyed by a contractor who came looking for asbestos. He was supposed to be cleaning up the place, and he messed up our rotary. When you're not looking. Yeah. Anyway, so this model was at the World's Fair in San Francisco in 1939 at the Treasure Island. And when the fair was over, they gave it to Connie Perm, who started her museum in 1949. And then the parks thought it was too big for a museum, and so they didn't buy it. So our association, our nonprofit, bought it and said, yes, it's
great.
It's great. It's a great little
Why would
model.
they think that was too big?
Well, you know, you had Parks Department don't know anything about mining or anything about history, and they just parks and recreation.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you have to deal with.
Well, it was your benefit. It's your benefit that they didn't see the value in it.
That's right, yeah. And so we did. In fact, they didn't see the value in anything Connie had until we convinced one parks director that you know they were going to miss out something with the Parks Department to have a history.
Yeah.
And so
This is nice.
he joined us then.
Yeah, look,
They
we're lucky
got
there's
fired.
nobody here, so we get a private.
Anyway, so we bought that and donated it to here. Yeah. Made sure that it.
No, because when I think of California, I think of the combination of all the things, you know, like that came from California. For instance, you have mining, which started it, you know, started its growth.
Yes,
And then you go from mining to, then you have media, movies, you know, that kind of thing. And then you have, and then after that, you know, now you have in Silicon Valley, I mean, when you put it all, string it all together,
Right,
that's
yeah.
quite a history.
It's quite a history.
Yeah, and there's a lot of areas where it all comes together. And like I always, that's one thing I used to like about Hearst Castle, is because, you know, you have Hearst, right?
Yes,
The
yeah.
communication magnate
Right.
and movies,
Uh-huh.
and also mining was where his family started. So
Yeah.
it's kind of, you know,
Talk
interesting.
about Hearst. Just what you're talking about. There is a little spot up in the park that we call the Yellow Kid. It was the Yellow Kid Tunnel, and this is how this happened. One Sunday morning, they were digging, on the Saturday before, they were digging in here, and they noticed that this alluvial, this was kind of yellow. And, but it was shocking to them. But that Sunday morning, the mine managers and all of his buddies and all were having their coffee, and they opened up the Chronicle from Hearst Chronicle, and there was the first colored cartoon in United States history, was the Yellow Kid. And he was a little Irish boy with a yellow shirt on, with a joke on the shirt. And he was called the Yellow Kid. And these guys were sitting around the